Greetings everyone, I'm Hernan Wittemoller and I work as a software QA analyst at MuleSoft. This video features MuleSoft Salesforce Connector and displays how to meet configuration requirements for using the connector in a Mule project and how to incrementally build a create, retrieve, update, delete use case through the connector operations. In order to build and run this project, you will need a DeveloperForce platform account, also to download and install Mule Studio Community Edition, and a browser to make a request to your Mule application. Besides our DeveloperForce platform username and password, also a security token will be required to properly configure the connector global element. For that, once logged into our Developer Edition environment, go to Your Name, Setup, My Personal Information, Reset Security Token, and click the Reset My Security Token button. The new security token will be sent via email to your registered email address. After launching Mule Studio, go to Help, Install New Software. From the Work With drop-down, select Mule Studio Cloud Connectors Update Site, and then filter by Salesforce. Check it and click Next. Complete the installation process. After the connector is installed, you'll be required to restart Mule Studio. Now let's create a Mule project. For that, go to File, New, Mule Project, and call it Salesforce Demo. Next, store the credentials, by that I mean username, password, and security token, as properties in the Mule app.properties that's on the app folder. Then, create a Salesforce global element and populate the username, password, and security token fields with property placeholders. The way to build each of the flows composing this example is very similar. Use the filter feature of the Studio palette to locate the desired elements and then arrange them as it's indicated on each of the steps. I'll go through the purpose of each building block and how they are configured. The entry point to the application is the HTTP inbound endpoint. I've set CRUD as its path value. Then there's the Groovy transformer that will convert the payload that's on the Mule message to the format that's expected by its destination, in this case the create operation. After the transformer, the payload will become a map object containing the sObject type and also a list of sObjects that the create operation on the Salesforce connector requires. On the connector, the Salesforce global element is referenced and create is set as operation. The parameters for the create operation are taken from the payload using the Mule expression language. The sObject field mapping is the list of sObjects I mentioned previously. The reason the logger is placed there is that we're going to see what's returned by the operations on the console. Afterwards, the getSObjectID transformer will look for the ID value on the object that the create operation returns as payload, and it will set this ID as payload to make it available to the message properties transformers that comes next. The ID of our newly created sObject is then persisted by the property transformer as sObjectID to be later retrieved on the flow. And at last, the flow reference will make the execution of the flow to be continued on the flow named query. The query section of the flow will retrieve the sObject we created previously. For that, query is selected as operation on the connector, and a query that will retrieve our example account sObject is passed as parameter. Again, a logger is placed next to the connector so we can see the payload of the operation on the console. Next to it, there's a flow reference that will lead us to the next section of the flow. On the update section, first we need to generate the object containing the data that the update single operation will be consuming. Like we did before, a Groovy transformer will be used for that. The sObjectID we stored on the create flow will be called by the message.getProperty sObjectID code. On the connector, update single is set as operation and it will look for the sObject we created and update its name value. Next to the cloud connector, there is a logger to print the results to the console. Finally, a flow reference element to the last section of the flow. On this last section of the flow, a list of IDs to delete will be passed to the delete operation. This list of sObject IDs is manually created, and a call to message.getProperty sObjectID is made using a Groovy Mule expression evaluator. The setPayload transformer will change the payload, and that message is going to be displayed in the browser once the entire flow is completed. Now let's run the example. Once the application is up, hit the endpoint. Let's check the console. As you can see, the create operation was a success and returned a safe result object. The subject ID of our new account object was retrieved by the query operation. Afterwards, our account subject was successfully updated and the object was then deleted. This has been a demo of MuleSoft's Salesforce Connector. For detailed information on the connector operations, check the API docs available in the GitHub repository. Related to MuleSV or Mule Studio features, you can visit MuleSoft website, where webinars and other documentation is available under the resources option. Thank you for watching.